Honeymoon Studio.
The And Now podcast.
Emotionally, I'm not fine.
I'm finished.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Nick. And now?
And now,
Oh, can I just come right out and say that my brain is like scrambled eggs right now. I am at the end of a massive output of work and like creative work, and I'm finished. I feel very I feel like a great sense of accomplishment. That's what I want to say. But also just, wow, what a day. What a long day. Can I tell you about my day?
yeah,
Can I?
yes.
So I'm writing. What am I doing? I'm writing this Gary the Tooth Fairy show in every like spare moment I can. I'm trying to manage a whole lot of other stuff. We're shooting Kona Twaki stuff, scripting it, shooting it all in kind of wonderful detail. Then we had this corporate Zoom team building quiz type thing that we did with Kona Twaki as well this afternoon, which felt super weird. Felt very, very weird for us. But we got great feedback afterwards. We were very down afterwards, like, oh, that was so weird. But then the feedback afterwards was great, which is just part of this whole thing that we're dealing with now. Is like every time you do something slightly new or different, it just throws you completely, and you feel like, oh my God, what am I doing? This is so embarrassing. And then it turned out it was fine. And then I had to prep for a show, which I just finished 5 minutes ago before this conversation. But trying to get my Basket QR code to work on the different platforms and getting into the group, downloading it on the thing, and then just trying to size it. And I can't, like, this stuff freaks me out. So I got John Savage to help me, and thank God he's been amazing. Like, send him a message and I'll send him a little video, and then he goes, okay, there's a bug in Facebook. I'll have to change the positioning of the QR code and put it sideways, and then it'll correct on the actual Facebook live feed and put it in the right corner, and then you'll be fine. And we do a test and it's slightly off because it resizes from your actual recording to when it's actually posted live, and then he has to rechange it and do it again, and then going, trying to go through the show and getting all this technical shit, and then doing the show, and then again being confronted because you're also so spinning out by all this technical stuff that you have to worry about. All of a sudden, you for a second forget the dynamic you're dealing with, which is there's no one there, and you're talking to a void, and you got to make it look and feel wonderful, and now I'm here. So that's been my day. So please forgive me if my brain does not work during this episode.
Your brain sounds like it's working pretty well to me, but I do understand. To me, my brain feels fine.
I don't know why that's funny to me. My brain feels fine.
Emotionally, I'm not fine, but mentally, I think I'm fine.
Oh shit, I forgot you sent me a message at some point today about homeschooling. Have you had it?
Yeah, I don't even know if that was today, because we've now officially moved into non-linear time.
It was yesterday, hey?
Yeah.
It wasn't today.
It wasn't today.
Oh God.
I read this great piece about how all time has now been reclassified. So like a day is no longer a day, a week is now 2 days, a day is actually 4 days. I felt deeply resigned particularly the last 2 days, just deeply resigned, and I don't care that I don't care. And just in the futility of all of it, just another Groundhog Day, speaking into the void. Last night I did a show with a sex therapist.
Is it what, like a double act?
on a double act, and she wanted to do a TikTok dance, but not for TikTok, just like 4 times the normal length of a TikTok dance.
On his
And I said, these people are all over 50. None of them will dance. And she said, they will. And I said, they won't. But let's do it. Because I thought I should go with it. I should just jump into all these new opportunities.
Yes.
It was an interesting experience. But
yeah, you know what? What that makes me think is, I know I keep banging on about my little motto is fail spectacularly. The problem with that is that, failing is difficult. It is hard and it takes its toll. And, it's implicit in what we're doing right now. So it's difficult to keep your head above water in terms of kind of absorbing that.
I even think that, now I thought my brain was working.
You thought you knew what I was talking about, and you have a legitimate response that makes logical sense, but it doesn't, because you can't even remember what I was talking about, and I personally don't even know how the sentence is going to end.
I think actually I was about to say something, but I think what my brain does is it short circuits vulnerability. So it's very hard, as you know, Rob, as you know very well, for me not to have it together and to feel like there's nowhere to hide and that I'm lonely and fucking over it. Just because I feel like I've got to uplift people. That's my job. And I read this great piece. So I was thinking about our friend Tats and Konzo, which kind of like came to me, and I was like, staying in the problem. Like, this didn't occur to me as a problem, but of course it is a problem. And then I got sent this email, and do you mind if I read this to you, Rob?
Please do. Please. I want you to read.
This is by a friend of mine called Lawrence, and it goes like this. We're an odd species. Unexamined, we're uncomfortable being ourselves. Authenticity does not come easy to us. Our cure, leave. Everyone knows this isn't it. At best, we're passing through on our way somewhere else. It's not called the travel bug for nothing. We're bitten. We love leaving. Any place, anywhere but here. Any place but this. Anywhere but where we are. The world means Brazil, Croatia, the Fiji Islands, the Amazon jungle, but never my neighborhood. This couldn't be it. Really.
Is that the Lawrence we used to go swimming with at the Elbrook pool?
No.
We didn't go swimming with the Lawrence.
I don't think so.
I feel like my brain is fine. I love that. Thank you for reading me that. That is so true to the human condition. Just to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And
I noticed.
Let's fucking blow this pop stand, man. This place is boring. Let's go.
Have you met neighbors on the street that you didn't know those people existed on your street?
No, we're pretty good with our neighbors. We've stayed. I'll be honest, Danny is very good. She knows everybody. Like the other day, did I tell you when I chopped through the water mains?
No.
I was hard at work on the path of least resistance, which, as we know, is an actual path.
Yes.
I'm making, which I've finished, by the way.
Well done.
Thank you. And I had a pickaxe, and I was pickaxing the ground, and I went straight through the mains water pipe for our house on a Sunday afternoon in lockdown South Africa. So I was like, oh my God, what the fuck do I do now? And Danny said, there's a lady 2 houses up who has a son who is a plumber, who is living with her. And he managed to help our neighbor to the right a weekend ago when they also broke their main water pipe. And this is that lady's number. And I phoned him, and her son, Mornay, came running down the road with his mask and a little toolkit, and he fixed our mains water pipe in like a half an hour. Thank God. Wow, why was I telling you that?
I love that his name was Mornay.
Mornay. He was Mornay, man. What a rad dude. He sorted me out. Oh, it's because you're asking about meeting neighbors. Oh, one neighbor shouted at another neighbor across the road the other day because he saw him walking home, and he was like, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here? There's a lockdown. Hamba lokaya." At which point Danny and I had to shout to that dude, the guy you are shouting at lives here. This is where he lives. He lives across the fucking road from you and has done for years. You asshole. And then the neighbor from across the road, he was so confused. He couldn't know, where is this voice coming from? What's going on?
Yes.
I saw him the next day, and I was like, I'm so sorry about that. And he was like, it's fine. And I was like, it's not fine. It's not fine. That's it. That's cut. What a fuck show. You're just coming home from a hard day's work in the middle of a lockdown, and some arsehole on a balcony is shouting at you. Oh, it makes me
in front of the law.
Yeah. What is wrong? What is wrong with this?
I told you about my racist neighbor.
What happened?
That I walked around the corner to borrow a long pair of shears so that I could remove the fungus infected plant that was poisoning my neighbor's proteas, which turned out to not be growing on my side of the wall.
I remember you told me of this. So you proved it.
Yes, but when I went to fetch them, she was talking to the racist neighbor who was talking about his gardener who he's not paying, and his gardener's upset with him, and he's like, well, I mean, he's a troublemaker. He's a trouble. He made trouble with the previous people he was working at. He got TB, and they had to let him go. They had kids, and he took them to court. And I'm just worried he's gonna, you know. And you see that the people that were arrested, and he kept pointing at his skin tone to denote the people that were arrested being of this pale skin. Now the baby walked off the catwalk at Music. Did you see it? Onto it was accidental. Just walked onto the catwalk, and the police and they threw him in the back of the van. And I was like, and what happened to the parents? And he was like, no, not the baby, the dad. They threw the dad. Yes, I know. And but it was because of this. And he pointed at his hand again. No, they just because of this.
So back up. He said that the gardener was a troublemaker because he contracted TB.
Yes, and he wants to be paid. I'm not. I can't employ him. How must I pay him?
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Anyone in this country who has been employing people doing those kind of jobs and is not continuing to pay them right now, whether it's your gardener or your domestic worker, if you're not paying them right now because they're not at your house, you, my friend, are an asshole. You are a deep asshole. I can't for that, Nicholas. I can't. Okay, I can't. I'm just saying, I can't.
Yeah.
That makes me angry. Shut up, brick. Have you got anything else you want to talk about that's not going to make me angry? I've told you already I've had a hard day and a hard week, and now you're making me angry.
I could talk to you about things I learned from a sex therapist last night.
Of a sexual nature?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
What would you like to know?
Oh, I don't know at all. What did you learn? What did you learn that you didn't know before?
I learned that I can't do TikTok dancing, but I knew that.
You knew that before. You had an
I knew that
intuitive sense of it.
I learned that movement is supposed to release trauma, but can actually lead to more trauma.
Yeah, that's a bit of a double-edged sword. So
If
which
it's
movements do you pick?
Just not the TikTok ones. I learned that people all over the world are not having much sex.
Really?
Yes, because of, we're all in sort of lizard brain mindset. Those whose brains are still functioning are anxious, and anxiety is not a great
aphrodisiac.
good thing. It's not a good thing for your libido.
Okay, that makes sense.
I learned that people in many cases are choosing to have sex with the least annoying person in the house, which is often themselves. It's mostly themselves.
That also makes sense. That's something I can relate to.
I learned that infidelity is happening. Cyber infidelity, obviously, but people are also meeting their side hustle in the aisles of Woolworths or Checkers, or because they haven't seen them for 8 weeks.
Oh God! Imagine having to manage an affair in lockdown.
Yes.
Are they? I mean, there must be people who are full on breaking lockdown and going for secret trysts, not just in the Woolworths aisles.
No doubt, Rob. I also did some research for the show. I decided to see what people are doing on Tinder, like how people are doing online dating during lockdown.
Oh yeah.
And I actually started speaking to somebody, and I said I'd like to do a little bit of role play with this person, and she said, "Okay, what?" And I said, "Well, I just wondered, could you come to my house dressed as a French maid, and then just clean the house. You don't have to do anything sexual, and I'll give you 250 rand, but make it 400 from a safe distance." And she said,
no, just a flat out no.
I learned that people have done threesomes accidentally. They went to the shops with their masked spouse and brought home the wrong partner because they were in the same or similar outfit.
I don't believe you. I don't believe that actually happened.
I don't think so either.
Your sources are unreliable.
A couple on the Zoom call claimed to be using the Kama Sutra. That I think was also a lie. There's another sex toy called a vacuum pump. I just think, haven't white South African women been dealing with enough vacuums? I think it's going to be triggering for them to go out and purchase a vacuum pump.
Yeah, especially in the lizard brain state, as you were saying. It's not cool.
I learned that the fleshlight is the most popular sex toy for men.
Okay.
Do you know what the fleshlight is?
It's like a light that's made of flesh that you stick inside yourself?
Yeah, it's a vagina and a torch.
This is all research you did for the show with
Dr.
sex
Eve,
therapist.
Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Eve. Well, I mean, it had to have been Dr. Eve. Dr. Eve is like the only sex therapist in this country, right?
You'd think.
Not true though. Untrue.
But anyway, all of that is, just me trying to wedge jokes into the show, even though I don't feel like being remotely funny. at all.
I
just kind of went into like autopilot, and
I heard you.
They want me to be funny. I'll just be funny. No one wants. Who wants?
I was like, fuck, he's doing a setup. He's doing a setup. I'm trying to have a conversation with this guy, my dear friend. I'm trying to connect with, and he's fucking trying material at me. He's doing a setup, and then he's finishing his setup with a lousy punchline that is ill-advised, not properly thought out, and he's not even committing to it because he's tired and it's all lizard brain bullshit.
Deeply resigned. I'm not actually tired. I'm just deeply resigned.
Resigned. Oh, yeah. That's worse. That is worse.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's not a high moment to bring our guest on, but it is a real moment.
Well, I can only agree with that, Nicholas. And what more can we be than real right now? So should we bring on our guest?
Yeah.
And get real with him?
Yeah.
Is he there? Donovan.
Hello, brother.
Wait, I was just thinking.
Okay.
Hey, Donovan Goliath. Let me do an intro for you, Donovan. Don't jump the gun. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Donovan Goliath. Another trailblazer. A wondrous human being. A very, very funny man. And our next guest on the podcast. Hello, Donovan.
Wait,
now you can come in, Don. Now is the time.
No, it's gone.
He disappeared. I don't know where he went.
It was there.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Anyway, but it was a good intro.
It was a lovely intro.
It was, eh?
Good intro. Okay. So send him another invite.
Please don't include any of those terrible jokes I just made.
You have to.
No. I'm sure I'm missing actually, it was actually so weird, Rob. I mean, because she was doing the thing and I was watching all of the people and they were all couples in their mid-50s, 60s. There was one guy who's like 89, just on his own in like a Hugh Hefner style dressing gown. And it's so weird. He's back.
I'm back. Something weird happened.
That's fine. Nick was about to finish the story about a sex therapist, but I think we'll put that on hold for a second. Just remember to finish that, Nicholas. I want to know about the old Hugh Hefner man in his gown.
I've finished prematurely.
So you did. Welcome, Donovan Goliath. How you, Don?
Good, brother. Good. We're surviving. I feel like with every interview, with every podcast we do, the first question is always like, what's up? How's lockdown? How are you surviving? And I'm like, look, it's nothing you haven't heard before. We say the same things. We say we're staying sane, trying to make it happen, trying to do this, trying to do that. And yes, everything you've heard before, that's what's happening.
We've literally not said any of those things tonight.
Oh, okay.
We've said we're not surviving. We're insane.
Okay. All right.
And Rob's brain wasn't working, but it is again. But I got to say, you look great.
Thank you.
So you look
what
fresh.
Happened was my girlfriend Davina, for the longest time, my hair started growing out and I was looking like shit. Can we swear on here? Sorry.
Yes.
You can do whatever you want.
Whatever the fuck you want.
There we go.
And that was edgy, eh?
You watched even the way he said it, eh? Did you see?
Yeah, he pushed it out there.
Yeah,
that's
like
he say, "Fuck, guys."
He let it knock off his off his pelham.
Hardcore. Make a bit of it. He's so hardcore.
Yes.
So she watched the tutorial, and then I got some clippers, and then she cut my hair, and yeah.
That's a brilliant job. My wife did mine as well.
You look good. You look like
you got a very similar haircut
Blinders,
now,
brother.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for.
It's amazing. You did this, and you look like a whole different person. It took you back like 30 years.
Don, The reason I really wanted to get you on this podcast because we have been trying to specifically talk to people who are engaging with what is that weird sound that keeps popping?
I know.
Is that
Like a Zoom crasher. No, I don't know what it is. It's something happening in Marcus's side, maybe.
I wonder.
Is
Is
he
it you,
unmuted?
Marcus? Yeah, he's
Maybe.
muted himself. Maybe that'll help.
All right, cool.
So what was I saying? One of the reasons why I really wanted you to come on the podcast is because we've been trying to engage with artists who are engaging with the problem and kind of really expressing themselves through this whole thing. And what I find fascinating about what you have been doing and what you and Davina have been doing is that you have found so many different ways to express yourself, and you're obviously drawing on your skill not only as a comedian but her skill as a musician, your skill as a designer, both of your kind of collective skill as creative entities in your own right, but also together as this wonderful creative force. And I'm not sure what the question is. I guess I'm just saying I really love it. I really love what you guys are doing, and the fact that you are drawing on so many different things, and it's like reached far and wide. You've had such nice kind of feedback about what you're doing. People are resonating with it.
They are. Look, I'll take you through it. When this thing started, even before the 21 day, the first season of the lockdown was announced.
Yeah.
And we didn't know there was going to be a second and third season. Before the first season was even announced, we had to shut down our comedy club very early on, and it was painful because we had to let go of staff, and running a comedy club is a very difficult thing. Number one, it takes about a year to really seed it in people's minds, so they know that there's this thing there that happens at this time on this day without you having to constantly push it. And we had only just gotten up to, or just over a year when all of this happened, so that was quite hectic for us. And very early on, as a company, as Goliath and Goliath, we knew that we're probably not going to be on stage for another year. We're going to have to make a plan. What do we do going forward? So we then, we brainstormed quite a bit, and then we started our talk show, Goliaths Go Live, which
Nick, have you been a guest on that yet?
No.
You're actually both on the list.
They didn't ask you. I didn't get an invite.
Okay. No, nothing.
Nothing like
don't worry. It's coming. It might be on Monday. Are you available on Monday?
No, it's too late now.
But it's been going well, bro. 50 episodes on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's amazing. You guys, you were one of the first people to put something out there, and you kept at it. Like is it a weekly thing? It's more than
daily. Monday to Sunday.
Holy shit, dude! How are you managing that?
No, it's very hectic, bro. It's quite taxing. We found a good a partner in Skyroom Live who it's all done on Zoom, but because they do live shows, they're able to operate it like a TV show. So you've got the operator sitting there. If we say, watch this clip, boom, the clip plays immediately. He comes out of the clip straight into Zoom again. Yeah. So they're just so clean and efficient with it, which I think has been the success of it. Obviously it doesn't look perfect. It's not very well lit. We're in our homes, but the structure and the way that the timing of it all is very close to a TV production, which has been amazing. And that's just one thing that we... One
aspect of it. Okay, before you move on to the next stuff, how are you managing the fatigue of having to produce that show every day?
It's taxing, bro. So we started out the first month, we did Monday to Sunday, and we had to make a call and just say, can we have the weekends off, Saturday and Sunday off, just to reset, because I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but every time you do a Zoom meeting or briefing or whatever it is, it feels like it just sucks so much energy out of you. And I actually
it's a real thing.
A study on this. Somebody wrote a study on it, and they say Zoom meetings or video conference calls are a lot more taxing on you because you're not there physically to see people's emotions. There's this weird blank stare on screen, right? So you tend to overperform, if that makes sense. So you're concentrating so hard at all of these faces. There's so many things happening. There are lights flashing. There's just too many aspects for your brain to control that you come out of there going, damn, that felt like a sprint. You know, it's so intense.
Yeah.
We
And
do
that's
that
just
show
for a normal person who's not necessarily a performer.
Exactly. So we do the show for 30 minutes. We fire. It's unscripted. So we throw the first question out and we go. Bah, 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 bah. It's like, it's madness, you know?
Yeah.
But we've gotten used to it now. We've got a format, so that's okay. Like, you know, that's fortunately, there are three of us, you know? So
Yes, I was going to say,
person
you've
feeling-
got that support of
Yeah.
Jason and Nick. The three of you kind of have a good working relationship as well, so you can support each other.
Have they done any studies with that study of people like me who actually find the Zoom call to be rejuvenating?
Well, you've
Do
always
you?
been an anomaly.
Yeah, because
It's tough.
for me, I have basically a fail safe. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Rob?
It's a, yeah.
Yeah.
Fail safe
Well-
doesn't sound right, but it's basically an excuse not to be with the family. And I barricade. There's a lock, not a lock, but there's an old one of those tennis poles that you put in the grass
Oh,
that barricades
nice.
this door shut.
Okay.
And I will
It gets
happily
you away
be
from
on
the
as
kids.
many fucking Zoom calls as you can throw at me.
So basically you social distance while social distancing. I love
Yep.
that. So even from your family, that's genius.
But carry on. They can do that study when they're ready.
So the stuff that Davina and I are doing, you know, dude, like the one thing, and Rob, I know you've done it. I'm not sure if you've done it as well, Nick, but I'm struggling to get comfortable performing stand up to a screen. I just can't get myself to do it yet. I know it's inevitable, it's going to come, but I'm just like, shit, like it scares me, you know, it really does frighten me, because when I think about the way I like to perform, I enjoy audience engagement, and I'm always trying to like source material from the audience to add to the gag I'm working towards. And it's just something I've made myself used to, which is, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, you know? And so I was like, okay, if I'm not going to do that, I'm going to have to find something else to do. So I went back to basics, man. I went back to what I know. I worked in advertising for 7 years as an art director. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to have to embrace social media and, you know, just show people that, you know, I've never actually liked being labeled. I've never liked one title. I've never liked people to only know me as a comedian, because I can do so many other things, you know, and I've done so many other things. And I've always convinced myself that, you know, how the world works, that you should only be good at one thing. That whole jack of all trades rubbish. Like I convinced myself that, yeah, cool. Like, you know, society, you know, if you want to be seen as a great or as a master of something, you must focus on that one thing. And I read a book called The One Thing, actually, which was fantastic. The opening line of this book is, if you chase two rabbits, you'll never catch either one, which I love. And essentially what the whole book is about is, if you're going to try and do too many things in your life, you're never going to get anywhere. You're never going to be satisfied. So I convinced myself that my one thing was comedy. It was such a big mistake. My one thing is actually creativity. Comedy is a subcategory in that whole thing, you know? And we started making these posters, those fashion parody posters, you know, where we played on, you've obviously seen them on social media. Rob. I don't know if you've seen them, Nick, but
yes, I have.
Man, you know, we did the first one, and where the inspiration from the first one came was, you know, Davina and I were having a conversation, and we were saying, it's so weird that social media, or Instagram specifically, is it's all vanity. It's all people dressed in fancy clothes. It's all this event, that event. It's all glitz and glam. But COVID-19 is such a leveler when it comes to fashion, because we're all just wearing, you know, our shitty house clothes. We all look the same right now. You know, there's exactly like apocalyptic movies. You know, everybody's dressed in like muted greens and browns. It's all the same.
Wearing
there
our
we go.
sluffies on Zoom calls, and
That's it. And it's okay. So we were like, hey man, we could do something with this. so we were going to take a normal pic, but I was like, ah, man, we could push this a lot further, and actually take the piss out of this vanity thing, and let's do a parody on a fashion campaign. So the first one we did was the Coco Chanel one, and we just swapped the logo around and we just wrote COVID. That got a big response. We sat and we thought about it, and we did another one the next day, and then the next day, and it started getting more and more difficult to come up with ideas. So we just used that classic formula of making 2 columns. One column, we wrote down every word affiliated with COVID-19: sanitizer, toilet paper, lockdown, self-isolation. We just put all of these things down. And on the other column, we just found fashion brands that are always top of mind. And we just try to find linking words. So example, we'd go, okay, what's happening now? Okay, we can't leave. Levi's, boom, there we go. Now we have a link. Now we've got a poster. And I would research Levi's posters to try and get a sense of what the texture is like, how they shoot it, basics. And then we shoot it on iPhone on Davina's music stand at a wall by our kitchen.
I saw you saying that, and I was so amazed because the quality of the images are so good. They're so it's like the real deal,
Yeah, and you know what's weird, bro? It's such a cheat. So the entire process takes 30 minutes max. None of them have taken longer than 30 minutes from shooting to posting. But it looks that good because, if you like the trained eye, if you zoomed into it and you saw how pixelated it was and how quickly the retouching and the deep etching has been done, you'd be like, yes, it's y'all are taking the piss, eh? But we knew that this is not going to be printed. This is being displayed on a small screen, and people are swiping and moving very quickly. But because the image is so simple and effective instantly, your brain doesn't actually have time to figure it out. You're just going, oh, damn, this works. How does this work? Why? There's humor in it. It's shot. It looks like a fashion ad. It's not a fashion ad. There was a play on the logo. So there's all of these things that we throw at you. Your brain, you put this puzzle together. You're happy that you put it together. You comment, you like, and then you move on, So we don't actually give people a chance to get into the detail of it. So it's shot at just the right angle with just enough lighting, just enough detail to make it convincing enough for you to go, wow. I mean, we've done interviews where people have asked us, who's the photographer and how are they being allowed in to shoot this stuff? And we're like, nope, all us, Yes, dude, but these things, let me tell you, man, it's gone. I mean, I guess it's safe to say it's gone viral. We've done interviews with a newspaper in Abu Dhabi, one of their biggest newspapers. We did an interview recently with TRT World, a big news channel in Istanbul. And I'm just like, yeah, man, like the Middle East is loving this stuff. What is it about it? And look, they are the high fashion capital of the world. You go to any of those places and Gucci and Chanel are huge. So maybe that's it. I don't know. But we did another interview today where somebody said, I do love that subtly there's a little bit of there's a message here, because you're telling us to stay inside, you're telling us to sanitize, you're telling us everything that every other warning post is telling us, but you're doing it in a fun way without preaching. Like it's cool to see this stuff. And the best feedback we've gotten is that, man, I look at these posters and they make me happy and make me forget that we're in a pandemic, even just for 5 minutes. That's all I need, man. And that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps us going to want to keep doing more and more of these. And that's just one element. I mean, we did the one post that Missy Elliott reposted.
Yes. Yeah.
Get your
was that for
on.
TikTok originally, or was it something that you create?
We just shot it, and then it happened to work on TikTok.
Okay, so this is my next question to you, Don, because I find it absolutely fascinating to get insight into the creative process that you guys put into place, like making the line between associative words and then brands, and once you've decided, okay, we can do this, how much homework and creative work goes into that, and also you saying, I wanted to go back to basics and express myself differently. How much of that, though, because there's a big level of premeditation in terms of the work that goes in there, and I totally respect that and I see that. But how much of it also did you like? Was it such a premeditated thing that you were like, okay, I can't do comedy, so I have to find something else? Or was there something more organic about it in terms of finding that impulse and that sense of fun with something else? And specifically with what you and Davina was doing, there's this, I get a sense that there's on one hand, there's this premeditation in terms of how you as creative people are dealing with the problem, but also there's this, like, I get a real sense of playfulness. Like, yes. I get the sense that you guys have stumbled upon a lot of ideas through kind of following your curiosity together. And then as your creative artistic minds have taken over and gone, oh, this is what we can do with this. And then the work comes.
That's spot on. That's exactly what happened. Man, dude, if I tell you that this person that I am right now, the stuff I'm putting out right now, this is the person that I've been looking for the last 8 or 9 years that I've been doing comedy, because I buried this person, you know, because I focused on just doing comedy, and I thought that everything just needed to be funny. I just needed a mic and an audience, and you know, you get sucked into that world. And now I feel like I'm actually having fun. You know, this is not a job. There's no expectation. It's really just, you know, we started doing something. We caught a nice wave. There was a good rhythm. People loved it. We were like, okay, we just got to keep doing more of this stuff. It became a really interesting challenge. But, you know, both of us get quite bored of just doing one thing. So that's why we don't just do the posters. You know, we do the posters. So Davina will do her own thing. You know, she does a show.
She's incredibly talented as a musician. Yeah. She's doing so much right stuff. And then you guys are collaborating with the music stuff as well. You're doing the rapping.
I rap, you know, but there's always like humor added to it. I never take myself too seriously. I do impressions. So I'll do Jason Statham reciting Red Riding Hood while Davina plays dramatic music behind me. And then I'll challenge her to play 10 sounds on violin that you'd never expect on violin. So 10 movie scores, let's go, you know, and she's got like 5 seconds to figure it out. And I think the reason it's working and why people like it, because it's stuff that people you haven't thought of that before. You've never thought of, I wonder what Narcos would sound like on the violin. And that's what we're putting out, you know. Let's try and break away from everything the template and everything that you're used to. That's constantly being thrown at you, and let's give you something fresh, but not just for you, but for us as well. Like, how do we wake up and challenge ourselves every single day to, you know, we hit that reset button and just go, what is it today? You know, what is that new thing that we're going to stumble upon? And it'll start off as this little idea, and at the end of the day, when we do decide to shoot it, it's this huge, crazy, I mean, that Kendrick Lamar thing that I did as well. I don't know if you saw that. I wrote this, so I do a Kendrick Lamar impression, and Davina was going to play the music on violin, and I was like, I could do this impression, or I could write a verse about being stuck in lockdown for 21 days, but write it exactly how Kendrick would do it. Dude, you know, that thing on Twitter, people are forcing me to write an album now because of that. Not because of the impression, but it's like, hey man, you've got stuff to say, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm ignoring that because I'm going, no, I don't want that. That was a one-off. I'm letting that go because I need a new challenge now, something else to focus on, because I'm learning while all of this stuff is happening. And yeah, it's been amazing. But that said, we've had many off days.
Yeah.
Many days where you wake up and there's nothing, bro. Tank is empty. And then you tell yourself, yeah, it's over. That's it. You know, we've reached our peak. Done. Like, there are many more levels of lockdown left, and we could only get to level 3.8. And this is it. We're done. You know, but then you need that. Like, you need to procrastinate. You need to be bored. You need to get into that weird state of flow where you're thinking of nothing, for the ideas to start. You know, to regenerate again, which we're learning, you know, which is such a great thing. So I'm I'm excited for when we come out, because we're working out right now, you know, we're training ourselves to be funny fit, to be creatively fit. So when we do come out of this, you know, we're ready for, you know, when that shitstorm, you know, hits us, because this is the one we'll never have this time again to figure ourselves out, you know. So it's, somebody framed this very well and said, it seems like the captivity has given you guys freedom, and I like that so much.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, what you said about you feel like you found the person you've been looking for. I don't know why, but that made me very, very emotional. It made me want to cry. Listen, honestly, I'm like, oh my God, that's beautiful.
I'm not even kidding. Jason and Nicholas, they sent me a text as well, and they were just like, yes, bro. The last time we saw this person was when we just started Goliath and Goliath. When I designed the logo and all the merchandise and, you know, the T-shirts and all of that stuff. That's the last time, you know, and I agree. You know, I haven't expressed myself as fully and as openly and have made myself as vulnerable as I'm doing right now. And
it's
I'm
fascinating for me. What I find so fascinating about this whole situation, and it's like we keep coming back to so many of the same things and so many of the same realizations that people have had, but the restrictions, like the restriction of lockdown, the restriction of how we have to now express ourselves online, has freed us creatively on so many levels, because you have to throw out the rule book, and it's like, and then you realize, oh, this restriction is actually freedom. It's actually putting me into such a tight box that I can go, there is no box. Whereas before you were like, as you say, I think we get so stuck into thinking of what we are creatively, even. And it's something that Tat said a couple of episodes as well. It's the same thing of realizing that your skill as an artist is not the tag you've put on yourself. It's not your bio. That's just how you're expressing it. And what I also found what resonated with me now is that idea of finding flow with someone else creatively within this context is very interesting, and that you have to be aware that it does ebb and flow, and that finding that flow together is such a delicate thing, and it can go out and go in, but the trick is to not also get too frustrated with the fact that you can't keep it there all the time. It's like let it go. Let it go.
It's exactly that, bruh. I think you're making a big mistake when you try and so you break away from the structures, and you're free to express yourself. But in that freedom of expression, you get to a point where you start creating now these little structures in this new place, and that's where the problems start to set in. So you constantly have to keep stepping out of it and go, hey man, I can't be building rules here when there are no rules right now. You know, you know, Tats and I have actually been chatting a lot about this, because he's been doing such fun stuff online as well. And you know, I think only now, and comedians in general, I think, are incredibly bad at expressing themselves on platforms that we're now having to express ourselves on, because we're so used to, you know, that instant feedback from faces and people. Like you get and that rhythm is absolutely, it's so beautiful, you know. But we're so bad at branding ourselves, at putting ourselves out there, at, you know, I'm trying to find an example of people who are good at this, who are so good at just packaging themselves online and creating this persona, this person that you want people to see, you know, on stage. But when they move over and they go, oh, I want to follow Rob van Veer, and when you get to Rob van Veer on stage,
Skulk is very good at that. Skulk is one of the people who's got it right.
Absolutely. And he's also found it now during this time. You know, Skulk has built an incredible engaged audience. And we interviewed him, and he said the reason he's doing this is because when he comes out of it and he puts a poster out to sell a ticket, he doesn't want to stress that if people are going to buy or not. He knows that people are going to buy. He knows that his stuff's going to sell out because he's kept them there and he's constantly reminded them who he is, you know. So brand awareness, I think, is more important than ever right now, for us especially. And dude, but it's so tricky, you know, because there are only a handful of people who gravitate towards this medium and who enjoy this medium. But I think that so I've developed this thing that if you're going to call yourself a creative, you have to be creative with the resources as well. Like the material is one thing, but how you're putting that material out right now is a whole different story. So I've seen a lot of guys do very early on, guys jumped onto YouTube and they just put themselves, performing stand-up. And it wasn't enough. You know, people weren't ready for it back then. So it didn't work for guys early on because people were still figuring this thing out. When I say people, I mean the audience. It didn't work for them earlier on. And they just quit because they thought, it doesn't work. But the game right now, and the other thing that I think has made a lot of our content successful is the consistency. We just kept trying and putting things out and trying different mediums and figuring out, does this work as a normal post? Is it a long caption? Is it a short caption? Is it an Insta story? Can we move it to Twitter? What's going to happen there? If it doesn't work, you don't delete it. You just keep moving on and you just learn from all the data, you know? And that's what we're all trying to do right now, is figure out the possibilities of, these mediums that we're playing on. And, I chatted to an agency yesterday on our Goliaths Go live show. And I said, there are opportunities to monetize this thing. You just have to be very clever now with the way you do it. So with our show, we were fortunate enough to get a sponsor about a month in, right? VW sponsored the show. People saw it, so it's not a surprise. But we sold them the ad space up front, and we looked at other avenues. Where else could we, sell you an opportunity? And Zoom has virtual backgrounds that you could customize. So we were like, that's technically a billboard. We could sell you that space as well for 1 minute, and we will charge you, for a minute. So there's so many little things that you can do if you just sit down and play with the medium as well. It's not, you can't just sit and play with your material. What is the medium and where does your material fit into it? Not everything is going to stick,
Yeah, I was going to say,
that's where the little opportunities come in.
To add to a previous question I had, which was how do you sustain that creative output, especially with something like that? Being paid for it goes a long, long way to helping you sustain it. If you're just putting that out every day for nothing, it's very difficult to keep picking yourself up creatively. But if you found a way to monetize it and you are getting a return for that creative output, that's a wonderful motivator.
This is the other thing. You must remember that it's not just us who are struggling and panicking and are wanting, to gain as much attention as possible so people can purchase tickets from us or whatever it is, or pay us for stuff. Brands are in the same predicament. Yeah. Brands can't shoot TV ads or go and record, radio spots. They're relying on people like us who are at home with the basic technology that we have to create the stuff for them, because they also need, to be present during this time. So I think if we're cognizant of that and go, where do we meet? Like, where's that fine line where we meet and go, listen, man, I've got this thing that I'm willing to sell. What are you trying to buy? And they're out there. People are looking for stuff, I think you've just got to, just make as much noise as possible so that, they find you if you're not going to look for them.
Yeah. I wonder what's gonna, in terms of brand involvement and corporate involvement in what's happening creatively in this space, to what extent will corporate involvement sanitize the creativity that's being put out there, and to what extent will the mad creativity that's happening pull corporate sensibilities further into that more edgy, dangerous space, shall we say, for corporates?
Yeah, look, there's no right and wrong answer here. We've been fortunate enough, Davina and I have been fortunate enough to, catch the attention of one or two corporates who've wanted to collaborate with us on stuff they've seen that we've done. And they were looking for something similar because it fits into their aesthetic and to their messaging, that's golden. If you can give a corporate, if they can pay you for something that you're already doing, that's amazing.
Yes.
We shot a 30-second commercial with VW. I'm not sure if you saw it, but
yes. The road tripping one. It's fantastic.
Yes. We get this brief and they give us the hashtag. It's VW staycation. And they tell us, we need you to shoot something that looks like you're having a road trip at home. And it was pretty basic. And in my mind,
what's great about that piece is that it's on brand for them, but it's also on brand for you guys as creators. It really plays into that sense of fun that I was talking about earlier with the two of you. Playfulness.
Now we could have given them because I come from this industry. I know what they would have wanted and what they would have accepted, but because of what we had started building already and what the expectation was from people, we sat and we brainstormed this thing. Like I was in full on agency mode and almost rewrote the brief and just added as much detail in as possible. And I said to Davina, man, I'm going to storyboard this thing and let's blow them away. Let's blow them away and let's give them something they didn't expect at all. Because the brief was so simple, it was so vague. I was like, nah, man, we could push this, as far as possible. And we sent back the first cut and they loved it. It's like, damn, okay, that was definitely not what we were expecting. And it got such amazing feedback online as well. And it made me think, and going back to your question, it made me sit and think that I think for brand managers right now, this must be such a tough job because that people have very basic and very limited resources right now. People are not wanting to purchase any products just in share, so what is your messaging? What are you trying to put out there without it being too hard sell? Everybody now wants a compassionate message. There's like a bit of CSI involved. We want people to donate. How do you say it without saying it? So the briefs that I'm finding are all very similar. Everybody wants the same thing. Everybody's jumping onto the relief fund boat, which is not a bad thing. If we can help as many people as possible, that's good. And I'm starting to see the work that's coming out, and all the work is the same. The taglines are the same, but the things that are sticking are the people who are not budging, the creatives, the entertainers who are not budging, the guys who are saying, well, I'm not going to put this out just for cash, from you. Like this is only going to stick if we do it my way, because this is what people have become accustomed to. This is what people are following right now. So we're going to have to find a place where, I don't know, like, do we just slap your logo on at the end? Do we not put your logo on at all? Do we make this very subtle? What do we do so that still feels like my thing and not your thing? Because the moment they see the branding there, they're out. That's not what they interact with. They don't care about that. So it's such a tricky one, but I think that we're going to see a lot of cool stuff. We're going to see a lot of, this is where the real creatives and the real entertainers are going to get a spot. There's a time for them to shine right now. The guys who have always been, on the radar or just below the radar, who've never been top, like high level influencers, people with massive numbers, people with massive pool, but guys who can do the work and solve the problems. I think we're going to see a big spike in that, so I'm seeing guys like, I don't know if you've seen Tyson. Tyson?
Yes, I was about to say Tyson is a great example of that, of someone who was bubbling under the surface, but you always knew the guy's got the skills. He's funny, he's like super talented, And this situation has just given him this springboard, and he has just shot up. It's amazing. But I think sorry, carry on.
So I'm gonna don't be surprised, like in the next 2 weeks, if you see Tyson being the face of a massive campaign, purely based on what he's been putting out. You know, I'm starting to see a lot of brands are now buying into what people are selling. Essentially, when I say people, I mean creatives and entertainers. So yeah, this could be the way, the future of advertising, which I'm excited about.
That is very interesting, and what I really like about what you're saying is that it's brands are going to be drawn to, and the campaigns that will really work are ones that are coming from artists that are kind of following through with a creative integrity to what they're doing, and like a real sensibility, which is exactly what you what you and Davina have been doing. And man, Nick and I are huge fans. We've talked about it a lot, about what you guys are doing and putting out there. It's really amazing. And thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. It's a real honor, bro.
That's amazing. Nick, man, I mean, you said so much today. It is unbelievable.
Nick always got quiet during the interviews. He just stops. He doesn't say a thing. Like, Nick's gonna say something.
I find it very challenging because Rob kind of just jumps on with these like incisive questions, and my brain is still going, what do I say?
Yeah.
I can't actually do it better than that, so I'm just going to let him do it.
Do I talk too much? Is it
no,
just like
no, you don't.
Interview
it's
bully?
Just
no, you know what it is, Rob.
Yeah.
You also speak with, like, I can see how passionate you are about this. Like, you really want to know,
But you know what it is? It's because I'm a director as well.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm obsessed with the mechanics of how all of this works, and not just like, in terms of creating my own work. It's like, what are other people doing, and how do you figure that out? And I see that, and so I just love it. I love unpacking all of this shit and speaking to other creatives about what they're doing. So you know what, Nick, I'm not going to feel bad about the fact that I've never let you talk, and I just bully you out of the interviews. Don, thanks so much, bro.
Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it, man. Take care. Stay safe and wash your
Cheers.
hands.
Love to Davina. You guys are amazing.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate
it, brother. Thanks, eh? Bye.
Bye. I did the thing where I waved at the end of a Zoom thing. It's so weird. Why do we feel compelled to wave at the end of a Zoom meeting?
because we're desperate for social interaction.
Well, thank you for answering that question so succinctly. That is exactly why. Good, correct answer, Nicholas. That was a cool interview. I mean, not for you. You didn't get to say anything.
I literally wrote on my page here, I have nothing to contribute.
Oh my God. I find that so interesting because you have such an incisive creative mind, and you have such incredible insight. But then because I talk so fast, you think, okay.
No, I don't think it's that you talk so fast. I think also, like, during that interview, I started to feel, you felt emotional about something he said. I felt emotional through 80% of it, because most of my day is, I do not have space for a creative thought.
Oh, shit.
It doesn't, there is no, and I just got sad. I was like, it's almost despair.
That is crazy, despair. Nick, because I think you're being very hard on yourself. You have been an incredible creative force through this lockdown. You've put out a lot of stuff, and you continue to do that. And I think what you do is you often are putting out stuff and you don't even know you're doing it. You are creating all the time, but I think you're so used to it, you're not even aware that you're doing it.
Maybe what happened was because I stopped at a certain point, and because it felt like it was too much. And I think since then, I have felt that feeling of stagnation when you're not actually putting the thing out. But because it was so stressful creating a video, like it literally, I'd be fighting with my wife every day that I did that, because I'd be absent for a few hours and there'd be children screaming and she was having to deal with it. That it created such stress when it was happening, and now it's creating stress because it's not happening, and it's like a lose-lose situation.
Fuck, that's hectic. Oh, damn it. I'm sorry. I think you're going to find something, though. I think you're going to, because you are dealing with something very tricky in the 3-kid scenario, which makes it a lot more complicated. But I also think that you are incredibly creatively abundant, and you have done a lot, and you actually also need to give yourself a break and to find what Donovan was saying, which is to be okay with, okay, I need to stop now, and now I've got a little bit bored and frustrated, and something else will come organically. I think it will come. Don't push it. Don't be hard on yourself.
Well, thank you. What I did enjoy doing was actually listening, and there's one thing that resonated with me, which I think is really important, which is it's only going to stick if we do it my way. And somebody approached me to do something recently, and I thought, that's their way, and they want to attach their brand to it. And I immediately felt it in my body. I just felt this like, no, people are going to respond to that with like, don't sell me. I don't want to be sold stuff right now.
Are you talking about the sexy TikTok dance with the sex therapist?
Oh, I wasn't talking about that, but we could.
But similar kind of vibe.
Have you noticed that you can feel things in your body? I know this is going to sound a little woo-woo, but I was listening to somebody, Liz Gilbert, talking about that our bodies have been evolving for 2 million years. They are very good at picking stuff up. Our minds are about 200,000 years old. There's a lot of bugs, but getting into the wisdom of the body. And I mostly shut that off because I'm so up here in my head that I'm like, no, I just feel a bit anxious. It's fine. I'll get over it.
It's a very profound thing you just said, and I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. It's so important to tap into that in your body's own intuitive understanding of what you need.
How did we
I think
get
also,
there?
I think it's all related, and I'm also thinking that specifically from a creative perspective. It's like there's an intuition you have creatively, and that's going to come to play in terms of doing it your way. And your way may not be the way that you think your way is, as Donovan was saying. It might be going back and finding a person that you lost within yourself somewhere else. I don't know. But I think that's a good place to end this week's episode.
I do, too.
Okay. Well, bye.
I don't want to say goodbye.
Hey, next week is Stuart Goldsmith. That's our guest. That's exciting.
Is it on Wednesday that we're going to record?
We're recording on Wednesday. It will come out. The episode will come out on a Monday, many weeks in the future. Not many, but some.
Okay. That's in at least 7 days from the time. But now 7 days is the new...
4 days. No?
3 weeks.
2 days.
Or
Today
4
has been
days.
4 days.
We're not sure, really. But anyway.
Nicholas,
It's
look
the
me in the
weekend,
eyes.
Rob.
Look me in the eyes.
Okay.
Say goodbye to me. Let me go.
Rob, goodbye. Go and rest your brain. You have done well. You have done very well.
Thank you. Thank you for setting me free. You, Nicholas, are enough, and I love and respect you.
Even though I said 3 words in Donovan's interview.
Yes, but there were 3 beautiful words.
What were they?
I can't remember, to be honest. I wasn't that interested.
No, they were more than 3. They were, you can say whatever the fuck you want. There were 9 words. That's all I said.
9 beautiful
That's all
words.
I said.
You can say whatever the
Right.
fuck you want because I'm not going to say anything.
I'll just say this. I love you. Goodbye.
Love you too.